Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Today we're checking out 15 most brutal fouls in football.
Here are the 15 most brutal fouls in the history of football.
They haven't cleared it. Oh,
That
is a
I
booking.
didn't even see what happened
Number
there.
15. At number 15, the foul was committed by a player normally known for being a good guy. It was in the final match of the group stage of the 2018 UEFA Champions League. Bayern Munich versus Ajax Amsterdam. Both teams were giving their all, and they each scored a goal. However, in the 75th minute, chaos erupted on the Ajax bench. Mueller attempted to reach a long pass with a high kick and didn't see the Ajax player who wanted to head the ball. The Bayern
Kicked him
player
in the
directly
face.
hit Tagliafico in the forehead with his boot studs, causing a laceration. Tagliafico had to receive medical treatment on the field, but luckily was able to continue and finish the match. Mueller, on the other hand, was shown a red card and had to take an early shower. The foul was quite violent but unintentional. However, our top 3 fouls, without a doubt, are brutal. Number 14. In the 1990
Hang on,
World...
what was that guy's name? Thomas Mueller, there he is. Poor guy. That was totally unintentional. And he got the red card for it. Those shoes they wear have those spikes in them? They're like cleats, right? Oh, look at this guy on the ground. Oh, man. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, really. Dang.
In the 75th minute, chaos erupted on the Ajax bench. Mueller attempted to reach a long pass with a high kick and didn't see the Ajax player who wanted to head the ball. Number 14.
That was
in the
the 15th
1990
one.
World Cup held in Italy, Cameroon surprised everyone by beating the defending champions Argentina 1-0 in the opening match. But there was a scene from that game that the football world will never forget. Just before the end of the match, there was one last counterattack by Claudio Caniggia.
Ooh.
During that tackle, even his shoe flew off. Massing was directly sent off, and this foul was considered one of the worst in World Cup history.
I feel like the one before that with the kick to the forehead was worse, but let me just see that again. I mean, he did spin in the air.
Scene from that game that the football world will
Or
never
flipped.
forget. Just before the end of the match, there was one last counterattack by Claudio Caniggia. During that tackle, even his shoe flew off. Massing was directly sent off, and this foul was considered one of the worst in World Cup history. Indeed,
Red
football
card.
is pure emotion, and in some cases, tempers flare up quickly. Number 13. Our next foul is committed by a player known mainly for his aggressive defending and unsportsmanlike conduct. In the quarterfinals of the Spanish Copa del Rey, Barcelona with superstar Messi played against their arch-rivals Real Madrid. Messi's run towards the goal, as usual, could only be stopped by a foul. The referee didn't see it, and there was no video-assisted referee at that time,
with those
so
cleats.
Pepe didn't receive a foul. After the match, Pepe apologized, claiming it was unintentional. Sorry, Pepe,
Okay.
but it looked anything but accidental.
It looked
Number 12. The next
intentional. Y'all, I've had my hand stepped on, and it was very painful. This is weird. Okay, weird story about that. I played a zombie or walker on The Walking Dead in seasons 2, 3, and 4. And one day I was laying on the ground in the woods because that was the scene. I had been killed. So they told me to stay on the ground while they move stuff around. Some, crews moving stuff around. They're shifting. People are doing stuff. Anyway, this guy steps on my hand. It was so painful. I brushed it off. I tried to play it cool. He's like, "Oh, sorry, man." I'm like, "No, it's cool." Anyway, I know that hurts. And the guy who stepped on my hand was wearing tennis shoes. This guy's wearing cleats.
Number 12. The next foul didn't even result in a yellow or red card, although this tackle nearly killed the other player. In 1988, Rangers were playing against Steaua Bucharest. The Scottish team was known for their rough style of play, but Grame Souness went a bit far.
Oh!
That is a booking.
Reckless and dangerous, 40 years ago, the studs on the boots were made of iron, not plastic. The player who suffered the foul had to undergo surgery, and in the hospital he discovered how serious the situation was. One of his lymph nodes had burst, which could have endangered his life. Fortunately, everything turned out well, and Graham didn't even receive a card for his ugly foul.
So back then the cleats were made of iron? Now they're plastic, I guess? Iron. That's a whole other level of pain. There's also a really important blood artery there. I guess all arteries have blood in them, but He could have sliced that, and the guy would be dead in seconds. He's lucky only a lymph node burst. Dang.
Well, and Graham didn't even receive a card for his ugly foul. Number 11. But let's stay in England.
Oh,
The premier
it looks
card
like
for his ugly foul.
oh, it looks like he's like, oh, look, I got hurt. I got hurt. He hit the back of my leg. I'm the one that's hurt. I'm the victim.
Everything turned out well, and Graham didn't even receive a card for his ugly foul.
Oh, my leg.
Number 11. But let's stay in England. The Premier League is known to be a bit more physical, and John Terry was known to be one of the toughest defenders. However, this tackle knocked him out cold. It was the final phase of a League Cup match between Chelsea and Arsenal, and the score was tied at 1-1. Chelsea earned a corner, and Terry wanted to show off his heading skills.
They haven't cleared it on.
Abu Dhabi wanted to kick the ball away from the goal, and Terry attempted a header at the same time. It was not a good combination. Terry swallowed his tongue, stopped breathing for a short period, and had to be treated on the field. Fortunately, he recovered but had no memory of the incident. At least Didier Drogba scored the winning goal, making Chelsea the winner of the match. Number 10. The foul.
That was intense. I kind of want to see it again because I'm a sick person.
They haven't cleared it on.
Abu Dhabi wanted to kick the ball away from the goal, and Terry attempted a header at the same time. It was not a good combination. Terry swallowed his tongue, stopped breathing for a short period,
look at
and
that.
had to be treated on
his
the
arms
field.
like,
Fortunately, he recovered but had no memory of the incident. At least Didier Drogba scored the winning goal, making Chelsea the winner of the match.
At
Number
least he
10.
didn't get a cleat to the
The
face.
foul in the next match also occurred during an important encounter and almost sparked a brawl between the two teams. We're back in Spain in the 2011 Spanish Super Cup match between Real Madrid and Barcelona. Remember Pepe? Barcelona was leading 3-2, and it was already the last minutes of extra time when Marcelo had no chance of recovering the ball and brutally lunged at Fabregas from behind. Pure frustration. A straight red card. In the ensuing scuffle, Moreno pinched the ear of the Barca coach, Piqué and Ozil pushed each other, and yes, there was a lot of confusion.
Pinched his ear.
Nito, David Villa, Marcelo, and Ozil all received red cards and had to watch the final seconds from outside the field. Number 9. Axel Witsel.
So are they saying that hang on, I didn't really see the original
from behind.
wound. Okay.
At Fabregas from behind.
That looks
Pure
intentional.
frustration. A straight red card. Ozil pushed each other, and yes, there was a lot of confusion. Pinto, David Villa,
Ear
Marcelo,
pinching,
and
though.
Ozil all received red cards and had to watch the final seconds from outside the field.
Ear pinching
Number
seems
9.
harmless.
Axel Witsel was an important player for Dortmund in recent years, but when he was making a name for himself in 2009, he was involved in one of the worst fouls, and some even called for his ban from professional football. At the time, the young Witsel played for the Standard Liège. He was part of Belgium's golden generation, and top clubs from around the world had their eyes on him, but then during a match against Anderlecht, this happened. Witsel broke the opponent's leg, received a red card, and was suspended for 8 matches. He continued to claim it was all unintentional, but with the next incident, the perpetrator of the foul won't be able to escape. Simply
A foot's not supposed to move like that. Oh my god. Ow. Wow. At first, it looked like his shoe fell off, but that was his foot twisting. Ugh. I can't watch that again. I'm not watching that again.
But with the next incident, the perpetrator of the foul won't be able to escape. Simply brutal. Number 8. It's the final of the 2010 FIFA World Cup in South Africa. The Netherlands, with Arjen Robben, faced the Spanish tiki-taka of Iniesta and Xavi. It's the 28th minute and the score is 0-0 when Nigel de Jong turns into a kung fu fighter against Xabi Alonso. It's understandable that the Spanish players were furious with the referee because the Englishman, Howard Webb, only showed a yellow card.
That seems
It's
totally
hard to
intentional.
believe when you see those images. Fortunately, Alonso could continue playing, and since Robben failed to score, Spain ultimately won the World Cup. Number 7. The injured player even sued the other player and the opposing team's coach. In 1981, Bielefeld played against Werder Bremen. Ewald Lienen tried to dribble past Siegmann. The Iron Studs cut Lienen's thigh, and I can't show you the leg photos, otherwise YouTube would block the video. The player recovered from the injury after 4 weeks, but sued Siegmann and Otto Regal, the coach of Werder Bremen at the time. According to Lienen's accusation, the player had encouraged his teammates to commit the foul. The lawsuit failed, but the incident didn't go unnoticed.
I can't tell what happened.
In the return match, the coach even sat on the bench wearing a bulletproof vest. There were death threats against him. Number 6. Martin Taylor.
So did it slice his leg, or it's hard to tell what happened, and I guess they can't show it, so it must be bad. It must be bloody or bruised up or something.
Number 6. Martin Taylor also received a death threat after his foul on Eduardo. We're back in the Premier League, Birmingham City against Arsenal. Martin Taylor's incredibly brutal foul against Eduardo of Arsenal resulted in a broken tibia and fibula.
Oh, no.
The incident was so shocking that even on TV, replays weren't shown. Taylor was suspended for 3 matches. Eduardo returned to the field after a long
I couldn't really tell. I'm gonna watch it again.
Broken tibia and fibula. The incident was so shocking that even on TV, replays weren't shown.
But it broke
Taylor
2
was
bones.
suspended for 3 matches. Eduardo returned to the field after a long injury hiatus, but was never the same. Number 5.
Destroyed his career, maybe.
Our number 5 occurred 2 years later, again in a Premier League match. Stoke City's Ryan Shawcross entered the duel, made the first contact, and broke Aaron Ramsey's leg. Shawcross received a red card and was suspended for 3 matches. Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger and the rest of the team were furious. 19-year-old Ramsey was making a name for himself in the football world, and many feared his career was already over.
He's only 19.
Fortunately, he recovered from the terrible injury and continued to play.
Good.
Now let's move on to a foul that gave the player a nickname. The Butcher of Bilbao, number 4.
Oh, God.
In the 1980s, Athletic Bilbao and Barcelona had the biggest rivalry in Spain. Bilbao became champions in 1983, Barcelona won the cup, and in their 4th round of the new season, the 2 teams were set to face each other. The skillful Catalans against the tough Basques. 2 different football worlds. The score was already 2-0 for Barca when Maradona received the ball in midfield. Goicoechea brutally lunged from behind and broke the 25-year-old Maradona's ankles. Maradona had to stay out of the game for several months, and Goicoechea received an 18-match suspension. We've reached the top 3, and we're back in the Premier League.
That's
number
a lot,
3.
Right?
In 2006,
matches?
Manchester City played against Portsmouth. After a corner kick, Portsmouth player Mendes rushed to clear the ball.
He saw
then
that
Thatcher
was
hit him in the face with an elbow for no reason.
that was
Mendes lost
intentional.
consciousness and had to be treated on the field and then taken to the hospital. The absurd thing is that Thatcher only received a yellow card. What does one have to do to get a red card in England?
Yeah.
Later, he was suspended by the Football Association for 8 matches and fined by his own club, being docked 6 weeks' wages as a punishment.
Okay.
Hey, it's not fair to hit others when you're angry, but it's perfectly fine.
I mean, that seems more fair. This guy got a yellow card for intentionally knocking this guy out. Elbow to the face. Meanwhile, the guy in number 15 got a red card, and he didn't even mean to do it. It just happened, like manslaughter or something.
Now, let's move on to a classic moment in football. Number 2, France versus Germany. In 1982, the 2 teams met in the World Cup semifinals, and the encounter was ruthless. Suddenly, a good opportunity for France. Goalkeeper Schumacher lunged at Battiston and knocked him out with a powerful blow. The player lost several teeth and Schumacher lunged for France. Goalkeeper Schumacher lunged at Battiston and knocked him out with a powerful blow. The player Goalkeeper Schumacher lunged at Battiston and knocked him out with a powerful blow. The player lost several teeth and suffered a spinal injury. One of the worst fouls ever.
Dang.
Schumacher had no chance of touching the ball, and it seemed like he just wanted to knock out the French player.
Yeah, it looked like
several teeth and
he looked like a crash test dummy. I wish he made the goal, just in spite of that goalkeeper. That was totally wrong. Some really inconsistent officiation. Is that the word? Officiating.
Our number 1, perhaps the most brutal foul ever, happened in England. Are we really surprised? Number 1, September 1997. Manchester United was playing against Leeds. Roy Keane and Alf Inge Haaland, or rather Erling Haaland's father, clashed several times during the match. 5 minutes before the end, Keane wanted to trip Haaland, but in the process he injured himself. Holland leaned
Oh.
over him and shouted to stop faking an injury, but Keane wasn't faking. He'd torn his cruciate ligament and had to be out injured for a long time. 3.5 years later, the two faced each other again. Holland was playing for Manchester City, the eternal rival of Manchester United. Keane wanted only one thing, to have revenge on Holland. He received a red card and a 3-match suspension, plus a fine of £5,000. A year and a half later, he wrote in his autobiography that he wanted to hurt Holland with that foul, and the English League handed him another 5-match suspension and a fine of £150,000. But wait,
From the
did you know
book?
that
So Keane tried to intentionally hurt Holland, but he ended up hurting himself. And his pride was hurt so much that years later, he tried to do it again. And it worked that time. But he was fined $5,000 at the time because he was probably like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Sorry. But then he wrote an autobiography where he said, hell yeah, I tried to hurt him. And then he got charged $150,000. Good. I like that they can retrospectively fine people. I like that. It seems just. Roy Keane. There's a band named Keane. Are they named after him? Former coach and former professional player. Oh, there it is. His admission that the tackle was a premeditated assault led the FA to charge him with bringing the game into disrepute. He was banned for a further 5 matches and fined £150,000 in the ensuing investigation. Okay, so he was still a player when that happened. Okay. So when they were in the semifinals of the Champions League, they lost, and then King blamed his teammates for their fixation with wealth, claiming that they had forgot about the game, lost the hunger that got you the Rolex, the cars, the mansion. That may be true, Mr. Keane, but that's bad sportsmanship to blame your teammates publicly, right? That's locker room stuff. Keep that to yourselves. Bad for morale. During his period of rest after operation, Keane reflected on the cause of his frequent injuries and suspensions. He decided that the cause of these problems was his reckless challenges and angry outbursts. As a result, he became more restrained on the field and tended to avoid the disputes and confrontations with other players. So he learned, he grew. Good for you, Mr. Keane. I hope he learned his lesson. Sounds like he did. Man, those were brutal. I feel like maybe they should be wearing some kind of guard on their thighs, like the inner thighs, to protect those crucial arteries. What is that artery there? The femoral artery, of course. Wow, brutal is a good word for this video. Yes, those were brutal. Oh man, I feel like European football has a lot of the same officiating issues that American football does, where the referees just aren't looking, or they make weird calls, or calls that seem biased, or calls that seem totally non-proportional to the foul. Same thing. I guess it's human error. I mean, what causes that? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, brutal. Some of these were really hard to look at. Man, and I thought American football was brutal. This is just as much. I thought rugby was brutal. It is, but this is also brutal. A lot of kicks, a lot of cleats flying around, lacerating and puncturing and snapping bones. Eesh. Kicks to the face, the chest, the throat. I don't think I could hang. Anyway, really brutal video. Thank you all for recommending. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later.